Hey YouTube, thought I'd make a quick video here. I broke the carriage lock on my mini lathe. You can see right here it's just cracked. The whole thing is just broken right off. You can see there it's just cast iron. What it is up under the carriage there's a piece of metal, this piece right here, and it flexes right across this edge when you tighten down this screw, and clamps kind of at an angle to pull this up and lock the carriage. It's a terrible design. You can see where the screw actually broke out over here. There's also paint on the surface, so where it contacted the bottom of the actual bedways, it didn't really lock. I mean, you could really tighten this thing down and you could still get the carriage to budge. So I'm gonna make a new one. I'm gonna have to make a new part entirely because A, I can't really fix this, and B, it's a bad design and I want to do something that's a little bit better, maybe has a little bit more advantage. So what I've come up with is this. It's going to be practically the same right out here on, I guess, the business end of things. It's the M8 by 1.25 screw right there. The whole thing's going to be relieved on top. I didn't want to make it where it pressed against the bottom of the actual carriage. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put this cylindrical boss on the end here, which will actually go into a hole that I'm going to drill in the front of the apron. And I'll show a picture of that in a minute here, and it'll kind of make more sense. But that way, instead of trying to flex something or, using the cast iron that they, made it out of in the first place, I'm going to make this out of steel. It's going to be loose in the back where it pivots. It'll be, I don't know, a hole's probably going to be 3/8 of an inch, and then I'm going to make this, 370 thousandths or so. So it'll have just a little bit of slop, it can wiggle around. Nothing's going to flex, nothing's going to be under tension, and it's not going to put any, undue stress on the actual carriage. So hopefully it'll work out pretty well. So the first step I'm going to have to do, because this device is going to fit in, kind of about like that. It's going to fit in up under the table, so where the screw comes through, it'll pull everything kind of up like that. So it'll be pivoting from back here. So I'll have quite a bit more mechanical advantage than I had on the other design. I'm not sure, the screw's probably going to be about midpoint between where it actually contacts the ways and where it actually contacts inside the apron. So anyway, the first operation I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to drill this hole in the apron, and I'll have to, take some measurements and do a little math, figure out exactly where that's going to go. Anyway, let me take the apron off, get it set up on the mill, and we'll get started. Well, I've got the apron strapped down to the table now. I'm gonna use my edge finder and locate that front edge so I can get my hole located. I wanted to show you something here. You see that? Look at that fit up. Could it be any better? Anyway, since the apron is up here rather than down there, I have kind of a problem. I have no way to accurately control the Z-axis. So what I'm going to end up doing is using some clamps and clamping down some blocks butted up against either side, and that's going to lock the Z-axis or the X-axis in place. Now, of course, to do that, I'm going to literally have to hand feed it in, moving from right to left until I just touch off on that cutter. And then I'll be able to feed down and make my hole. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, no, that's not safe, totally not the thing to do. But I don't have any other option, and I don't really think it's that unsafe. I'm going to run decently low RPMs, and I'm just going to gradually creep up on it. Plus, this is cast iron, so it doesn't really grab cutters so bad. it just kind of turns to powder. And there it goes. Setting 0. Alright, I've already touched off the end mill there, and I've got it clamped down. As you can see, I used a couple of blocks of aluminum between the clamps so I wouldn't, scratch my ways, because that would be terrible. So anyway, I'm going to turn the mill on here, and we're going to index down, I guess it's 200 thousandths deep into the casting, and then we're done with this operation. A little bit of oil. You can hear it's just barely touching that side. And there's the bottom. Let me just double check here, make sure I'm going where I want to go. Only get one shot at this. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. Good, make sure we're locked down here. Probably should have done that already. Touch more oil. And here we go. That's 200 thousandths. Well, got the part finished there. Hole turned out, so. Nice flat bottom. It's exactly to depth, 200 thousandths. And the edge distance turned out about a half thou under, which is totally fine, completely within tolerance there. I did scratch up that side a little more than I wanted to. I think when I locked my gib, it might have shifted a little, but it's very, very little. It looks worse on camera than it really is. So I didn't want to use a drill bit. I used an end mill for this because I didn't want to break through that hole there. And that hole's pretty close to 200 thousandths. And I just figured when you touch off with the end mill, it's easier to tell how deep you're going because you know exactly where that corner is. So anyway, so now I just got to put all this back together, throw the forejaw on there, and cut the next part. Wow, that took a long time. I don't think they really intended for the apron to be easy to take off and put back on. But it's back on now, so I'm about ready to go. What I'm going to do here is I've got the part fixed here in the forejaw, roughly centered. It's not absolutely perfect. I'm just going to face it off here. I did get it pretty square, but I'm going to face it off. Then I'm going to flip it around. And when I take it out to flip it, I'm going to go ahead and put some blue on there. I'm going to lay the thing out. That way I can put it back in the other direction in the forejaw. I'll go ahead and face it to length and then turn down the little 3/8 boss that's going to go into the apron. So here we go. Advance this in a little. I don't really use the carriage handle to advance it because, well, it pretty much sucks. And it's really hard to hold the carriage in place. It doesn't really sit there on its own on this little machine. So, just using a high-speed steel cutter there. Didn't want to use carbide on such an interrupted cut like that. So, yeah, surface finish could be better, but it does the trick. A little bit scratchy, but not too bad. Okay, I don't know if you can see that layout line there. I can see it pretty well in its reflection. Even when it's running, it's very visible. So I'm just going to take it down to that line. It's not incredibly critical, but I'll just try to get, as close as I can. My tolerance here is about, 30 thousandths or so, so I'm sure I'll be just fine. There we go, right on the line. Alright, I got it marked out, and I'm trying to line it up here with this live center, which is pretty true. So I just gotta kind of walk that center punch mark over until I get it just on the money. Or so the plan goes. Right on the money. Looks pretty centered to me. Onward. Got us right on it. Take a measurement. About a half thou over. Good enough for me. Well, here's the part so far. The boss is offset up. You can see that by the little flat up there and the focus. Little undercut at the bottom. So far everything's to size. There's a little bit of variance, but not too bad. I gotta cut out this area here. Drill and tap this hole. It's gonna be M8 by 1.25. And then I've got to undercut all of this from this, just behind this line forward. I'll probably come over here. It's not critical, but I'll just come out to this line, all the way to this line. I'll undercut it by, I'll have to look at my drawing, but I think it's 20 thousandths. So anyway, that'll allow it to properly clamp. So now I get to set everything back up as a mill. Got my part set up here so I can go ahead and cut out that notch. I'm hoping this setup will hold. I think it will. It's pretty sturdy. So I'm going to use my 3/8 roughing end mill. Really my favorite kind of end mill to use. It just tears through steel real fast. Now Going ahead and touching off here, and while I have it here, I'm going to go ahead and just run my cutter back and forth. Establish that flat edge, and I'll just walk it over till I'm on my layout line. Since I kind of have to do it the manual way. Once I get it there, I'll set my 0 on my carriage hand wheel. That way I'll know where to come back to. Yeah, getting close. Let me just take it just a hair further. I like it. Go ahead and call that 0. Now we're going to come down and just touch off on that boss down there. Once I do that, I'll go ahead and lock the gibs for the Z-axis. Call that good. Go ahead and lock my spindle too, just for good measure. Back it out and take a cut. Well, I believe that does it. Looks okay so far. Now I just gotta cut that hole, undercut the whole thing, tap the hole. Should be good to go. There we go. I'm not gonna keep it engaged. Yeah, not deflecting when it goes into the center hole punch, so I'm going to call that good. Go ahead and raise the Z back up here. Give it just a little bit of oil. Lock my Z-axis. And in we go. Hole doesn't look too bad. Now I just gotta tap it. Now I'm probably gonna do this off camera, but my goal is to use a tap follower and start the hole in the mill. But we'll just see how that goes. Alright, I got the part in final position now. Just going to turn the machine on and touch off on the front. Then I'm going to feed down, I guess, the 20 thousandths that we're going to cut out of it. And then I'm going to just step over to either side and cut to the line. Went ahead and dialed in 30 thou, just in case. Let me put you on the tripod, maybe get a better shot. Much better. Cutting into that aluminum in the back, but it's kind of its purpose right now. And that's all she wrote. Alright, the part's done. Came out pretty nice. You know, it's not amazing, but came out okay. I went ahead and sanded it down good. Kind of gave it a decent finish. Especially paying attention to this top surface here where it's actually going to touch the bottom of the ways. I wanted to make sure it's got no burrs, no sharp edges, and you know, so it won't mar it up. But overall, I think it came out okay. So I'm going to go ahead and blue it now. Alright, once I've got it blued, I just rinse it off in acetone. Let it dry good, and then I just oil it. And it tends to come out pretty nice. You know, what I'm using here is this Brownell's Oxbow Blue. It's very fast acting. It looks pretty good too. I mean, I haven't used every cold blue on the market, but this one seems to be pretty nice, and a lot of people recommended it. So once it's dried, I just hit it with some 3-in-1 oil. Well, that's the final product right there. I'll go ahead and put it in and see how it works out, but I'm sure it'll do just fine. So that bluing, you know, it really did come out pretty nice. It probably looks a little bit brown just on camera, but holding it here in my hands, you know, it looks pretty much completely black. You know, looks nice, professional enough, I suppose. So 2x2 hands of blue. Hopefully somebody got that. So anyway, let's go put this in the machine, see how it works, and we'll see you there. Well, I think overall it worked out pretty well. The carriage still moves, you know, just perfectly freely, of course. No issues. But give it a tightening, and you really don't have to tighten it much. Before, you really had to crank down on it to get it to do anything. Now, just a little tightening, and man, it is solid. Like, you cannot get it to move. It will not budge. But again, you know, it doesn't have to be very tight. Comes right loose. Honestly, I would consider this an upgrade worth doing. I don't know how you would separate it. You know, the original lock, like I said, was all kind of part of one casting down below. So you actually had to rely on the cast iron flexing for it to clamp. Pretty much a terrible idea. And the clearance was huge on it. Like, it's not like it was close and touching and you just had to tighten it. Like, it actually had to move. So this one, it sits right on it. Like, it's almost touching. You can get a couple thousandths feeler under it when it's loose. Of course, you could loosen it all the way down and let it hang. When it is completely tightened up, you can get about, I think I got about a 13 thousandths feeler gauge in here. And that's with it just really wrenched down. So I'm quite confident it's not going to bottom out on me and not get any tighter when I need it to. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I just got to get this mess cleaned up. Pretty dirty. So anyway, thanks for watching.